Welcome everybody to the channel. We're on a bit of a roll. We're doing some uPVC testing of paints. I've got a sample window there. I'm going to be just spraying a section of it. I'll drop you down in a minute so you can see the bottom. This has been properly prepped, so let me get that out of the way first. We've given it a proper clean down with this proper solutions, however you want to do your cleaning down. But I have made sure that we have knocked off that sheen. Excuse me. I've made sure we've knocked off that sheen, going around with a bit of a Scotch-Brite pad. So we've dulled it off, as they say in the trade. We've dulled it off, we've dusted it down. We've also just wiped it over with some cellulose thinners to make sure there's no finger marks on it and the like. But let's get into this video. What paint are we trying today? Have you heard of it? Pentura. There you go, Pentura. Pentura paints. Now, you might have heard of these, you might not. If I mention Spray It, yeah, they're a bit of a spray course, in inverted commas, academy. It's a training course that if you want to learn how to do spraying, Spray It, are the people who are behind, there you go, Pentura paints. Now, Chris at Spray It reached out to me a few weeks ago now, and this is a video I wanted to do ages ago, but because the weather in the UK has been pants, it's always been raining. I've now actually got a clear, dry day that I can be actually in my little studio and practice and have a little fiddle with the paint that's been sent to me. And that's what it is. This isn't a paid sponsorship. We've got no endorsement of anything. I am trying this paint cold, literally. I've never used this paint before. I like to do my videos as if you're trying a paint that you've never tried before, and I give you my expert opinion on what I think this paint's actually like to try. You've probably seen a playlist there where I've been doing HVLP spraying, and again, they're all new paints to me that I try for the first time to see what they're like. So this is no different. I've got a sample window that has been given to me. Well, it was actually being chucked out at a uPVC window manufacturers. Right, so you're asking me what paint has Chris sent me. Chris has been brilliant. He's actually supplied me a couple of tins of painter samples. One of them's a 2K uPVC paint, and the other one's a 2K uPVC paint. And you're going to say, Phil, what's the difference? Right, the one I'm using today is a straightforward 2K uPVC paint, and if you can read the label there, you add 10% of the activator, which is there, and I'll explain that in a moment. So this is the paint I'm using today, a straightforward. Mix that up, make sure it's not settled on the bottom, tip your paint out, add 10%, that's your activator, mix it all up, get it in your spray gun, start spraying with it. Your open working time, I'm going to sit on the fence on that one. Clearly you've got an activator in it, so it's going to dry quite quickly, but depending on your weather conditions, you will see a difference in your open time for working time. If you don't mix it up, you've got a shelf life of about 12 months. We'll come on to this paint in a minute. Let's just quickly talk about the other one as well. The second paint he sent me, which will be another video, if you can decipher this, is 3:1. So 3 parts of this to 1 part activator, and then add 10% of the 2K thinner, which is there. This is another video. We'll come on to this at another, well, we'll come on to this on another video. But this is the next level up from the paint that I'm trying today. So we don't get confused, I'm going to move this away. And if by magic, the shopkeeper appears again. Right, so let's talk about the paint we've got today. Anthracite grey, satin finish, will be sprayed with HVLP. I'm using a 1.5 needle set on the HVLP, and I've got a QT5 if anybody's forgotten or didn't know. And what I'm going to be doing is mixing cups. I'm going to say to you, look in the description below, because I have these on my Amazon storefront. If anybody wants to pick any of these up from Amazon, they're only cheap. You get a pack of 10 for, I don't know, about 7, 8 quid or something. But these are brilliant because they have actually, I don't know if you can see, the markings on the side to give you a 10% ratio for your paint mixers. And also, when we come on to that other paint, if I just put that down a minute, the other paint, let's just say, if you can see there, it gives you a, I'll get the right side, 3-to-1 ratio mix. Then it gives you the markings on the side for adding 10%. So these cups are brilliant for actually mixing up any of these sorts of 2-part, 3-part paint mixers. But today, this is just straightforward. It's only a 10% add to it. So I've only got a part window to do. I've not got a lot to do. I want to try it. I want to feel what the paint's like. I want to give you my opinion on what it's like, just sampling it. I always say to people, like you've probably seen on other videos, test your paint out. If you've never used it before, test the paint out, get a feel for it before you start going hell for leather on a job, because as some paints feel differently, you might think it's like a previous paint that you've tried, and actually it's not. You need to have a little play about with it. Some paints do actually need thinning more than others, particularly the ones that are straight out the can. Let's call it spirit-based paints that are thinners, are thinned with cellulose thinners. Some of them, you think they might be all right out the tin, but you should actually add a bit more thinner to it to make it spray a bit easier. But without further ado, Barnaby Groove, Cuthbert Double and Grub, yeah, I'm saying it. I'm going to mix up a small amount of paint, enough to do that for my QT5. I'm going to probably just mix up 100 ml, right? So that's 10% of the actual litre tin that I've got. And then the 100 ml, I'm going to see if there's a marking on the side. I'm just going to add 10% of the activator to it. Mix it up, get it into my suction pot. I'll have a little bit of a practice on the sides, see what it sprays like, and we'll have a bit of a discussion on what it goes on like. Now, with all these sorts of paints, I always say to you, do a mist coat first. Don't try and get it covering in one. Do a light mist coat, dial your needle in. If you don't know what I mean, dial the needle in. That's your needle, put that down. That's your needle. If I pull it out, it allows more paint through. If I dial it in, tighten it up, it lets less paint through. So what I would say to you is, put less paint on for your first one, because if there is any contaminants on that surface, you don't want it affecting your finished paint that you put on. So if you do a mist coat first, you can actually see if there's any sissing or anything that's on the surface that you might need to just sand off, or even just get some cellulose thinners on and just wipe over the surface again. But this is a sample. I'm not too worried, but I will show you the process. Mist coat, and then a couple of nice coats over the top should be enough. If you feel you need to do an extra coat over the top, you can do. Trial and error, suck it and see. But for now, leave me to it. I'm going to just mix some paint up and I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Right, I've mixed my paint. Actually quite easy. I went to the 100, oh, I can't see it, we've all covered it all up. I went to the 100 ml mark, actually on the gauge on the side, and I just dripped in off the activator bottle until I went up to the first markup, which would be an extra 10 ml on top of it, which i.e. 10%. So I've got the paint made up there. I'm going to tip it into the paint pot, and I'm going to make sure, put that down, make sure all of it goes in, let it drip in. There should be plenty there for what I need. Once you've finished with these pots, you can either wipe them out or do what I do, throw them away, or use them for something else. Now, I'm going to list at the side, just down there, where this paint can be used, because there's that many uses for this paint. There's probably too many to mention, but it's not just a uPVC paint. So don't fear that we're only using a paint that can be used for PVC. We can actually use it for other things. So, right, that's all in there. Just give it a bit of shake up as well. I'm going to get my mask out. I'm just going to get some air through it. I'm going to have a little bit of a practice, and I'll come back to you in a couple of minutes. Right, I'm back with you. I wasn't probably minutes, split seconds. I'm back with you. Now you can hear in the background the QT5 working away. It's like a big hairdryer, a little bit noisy, but it is a great bit of kit for when you're spraying uPVC or anything really that's needing HVLP sort of spraying. Now, as I said, I've got a 1.5 needle orifice, which is quite small. I've dialed it in. I'm going to be doing a mist coat over that white area. The part that's already painted there is a previous video. I don't want to mention it because I've done it a number of times. I have issues with that paint chipping off on me. So I've left it there because what I'll do a follow-up video on this Pentura paint, and we'll see how hard it is with just literally a nail scratch test. That comes off with a nail, and that was prepared properly. Let's see what this 2K product's like. Now, I'm going to say to you, it stinks. Don't be using, if I've got one here, don't be using one of these masks for spraying 2K paint. It is literally a killer, literally. Get a proper mask. I've got a pre-filter on to, can you see? I've got a pre-filter, then I've got a particle filter, and the last filter there is a gas filter, i.e. fumes. When I put this on, I will not be smelling this paint, which I can smell at the moment. And I've got the garage doors open behind me there to let the air through, because it is a very pungent, dangerous product. It's not something I particularly like to think anybody's spraying actually in a private house. Each to your own. Now, you can hear me because I've got my mic on. I'm just going to be dialing that needle back in and giving a mist coat to there. It will be dry within minutes. I'll go and do something else and come back to it and do some build-ups with you, but this will dry pretty quick. I couldn't smell anything until I've just took that mask off. That is, if anybody wants to know what this mask is, please watch that video there, because these are brilliant. Don't do Mickey Mouse spray masks, do proper spray masks. I'm going to say to you, I'm not going to teach my grandmother how to spray eggs, well, spray eggs, suck eggs, but if you have facial hair and stubble and a beard, a face mask like this is not suitable for you. It is not going to work. You need to get a sealed fit on your mask. If you've got a beard, you should be having a proper head air-fed mask. Plenty don't, but you're taking a risk. That's me telling you off for the day. Right, just quickly before I go and cut my grass. That is a mist coat. You can see it's very mottled going all the way around it. I'll drop you down just so you can see. That's probably better. Mottled all the way around. I've actually got this window just on a couple of pieces of wood to lift it. I probably won't be able to get that bottom edge, but it doesn't matter. We're doing a sample. But what I've done, I've gone over that with a mist there. That is probably drying already because I'm just touching that edge and I'm touching what's gone onto that plastic. It's going off. I'm going to literally give it 15 minutes and I'll come back and I'll give it another coat and we'll see what it's like and we'll have a discuss again. But so far, so good. I'm back. I've probably not even been 15 minutes. That's nicely dry. And we're going to go in with another coat now, which is slightly thicker. I've dialed out that needle so a little bit more. I don't think you can see. Thicker paint going on, and hopefully a final third coat over the top will be enough. But let's see how we go with this. And I know some of you are asking, I am on full airflow. I have not turned down the airflow. I'm letting the atomisation work. It seems to be working fine, so I don't think there's any need to be turning it down slightly. Literally, it's like breathing fresh air through that. That's gone on nicely. Once you start building up your coats, try and get a wet edge going. Literally, make it look like you're getting it covering. Don't try and skimp and don't be conservative with the amount you're putting on. But don't be liberal that you get build up in the corners and starting to run. I've not got that, but I can see it nicely going on. It looks wet, it's drying off, and it'll be a lovely satin finish. So I'm going to turn off, give it another 10 minutes, and we'll come back and give a final coat. Now I know this waiting time between coats would not be a waiting time between coats if you're on a job, because you'd go from window to window, and the first window you started to the last window you finish, you could go back to the beginning again and just do a round robin. That makes sense. So far so good. I'm happy. Right, I'm back for my third coat. That second coat's gone on lovely. If I cast the light from the ring light there coming across it, it's got a lovely sheen to it. There's no pimple, so I would say the paint's not too thick. It's just an ideal mix. I've got a little bit of see-through mottleness, i.e. I just could do with putting a little bit more on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dial out the needle so a bit more paint flow goes on. I'm going to give it a nice final coat, and that'll be jobs a good one. Now let's just see on that bit of plastic on the inner, other than me marking it with a finger, it's not coming off, which is good. And that is something that's not been prepared. The outside's been prepared, but that's not. And you know what? It's not moving. Because why? 2K products are solid. Solid. Solid, I said, mother. Right, my little noodles. I've just taken the tape off that. Yeah, let's just say no more about it. It's even pulled the tape off, pulled the paint off with the tape there. But it's probably been about 10 minutes. I don't want to touch it because it's probably still a bit tacky going off. But do you know what? I'm looking across that. That is near perfect. I am over the moon with how that has gone on. I don't know if you can see. We've got a lovely sheen to it. We can see a little bit of a spray effect, which I'd expect because we have got a spray finish. But do you know what? That drying off is going to be lovely. If that was on somebody's house, on windows, as I'd always say, nobody's looking too critical at it, but a professional eye will always look at the decorating work that's been gone on, and I don't think there's many that could pick fault with that. It's probably that bottom edge there I couldn't get to. But all in all, that has gone on really well. I know you're going to say to me, Phil, what do you do now about cleaning out? What I'm going to be doing is tipping that out. I'm going to put it into one of my pots that I had earlier there. I'm actually going to leave it in there and see how long it is before it actually sets up with that activator to go solid, and then I can report back when we come back to do a video at a later date about how it's actually stood up. But what I'm going to be doing is tipping it out, wiping it out with a brush. I've just got some cheap brushes that I use for these sorts of paints for wiping out, and it's, well, I don't know, a few quid for a pack of 5 or something like that. I'll wipe it out, I'll get some cellulose thinners into it, rinse the bottle out. There's not a lot of paint in there. Rinse the bottle out, flush that cellulose thinners all the way through it. Then I'll strip down the needle, strip down the air cap, give them a wipe over, and I think you'll find that that's cleaned out within about 15 minutes, if that. Dead easy. Where people think that HVLP spraying's a big clean-up job, do you know what? That isn't a big clean-up job. Don't leave your kit with the paint in overnight or anything, because it is that 2-pack, i.e. an activator in with the 2K product. I don't want anything setting up actually in that suction pipe or across where the needle goes. But all in all, really impressed with that paint. I'm going to shout out to Chris and say thank you very much for letting me try it. Very impressed. Would I use it again? Most definitely. Would I move up? Would I say to you, give it a go? Of course I'm going to say give it a go. Price wise, I don't want to, depending on when you're watching this video, prices might alter, but look on their website. I'll give it you there. There is some contact details also there. If you want to see it, there'll be a link below so you can also check it out. What do we say normally price wise? It's probably about 30 quid a litre when we're looking at uPVC spraying, and the bigger quantities you buy, the cheaper it becomes. This being an activator and a 2K product probably won't be much different to other stuff, other brands that I've used. But all in all, that's gone on really well. I'm really impressed. I'm touching it on the plastic that's my pretend glass. That still just feels a little bit soft, but do you know what? If you're spraying a house with that and you've got your windows open and at the end of the day you came to close them, I don't think you'd have any problem. I can hear some people saying, no, I didn't tape up any of the edges. I've tried it without taping up that rubber gasket seal. Some paints do go all right with it, others don't. It's only a very fine seal around there. If there was, I can't even say, if there was a piece of glass in there, I wouldn't be going round taping up that little bit of a rubber edge. I'd let it go. As long as you're not poking and prodding it, it should actually adhere all right to it. But all in all, really impressed. And I'll come back to that after a good number of weeks and we'll do a little bit of a nail scratch test and we'll see how it stood up. But thank you very much, Chris. Good paint. Very, very nice to spray. See you on the next one. Please watch the videos at the end.